Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the air break. You are still watching Prime Life. Now, we are joined this evening by the brilliant and trailblazing Sudanese artist Khalid Albaih, who is known for his impactful political cartoons and sculptures that speak truth to power. Now, this past Sunday, the unveiling of a new project at the Nirox Sculpture Park titled Parenthesis, which is a life-size bronze sculpture that provokes reflection on a cyclical nature of power and invites viewers to experience the transitory role of the dictator. This is going to be a very interesting but also impactful conversation, and we have him here in studio. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us, and good evening.
Thank you for having me. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Before we even get into the work that you do, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Khalid Albaih?
I am a Sudanese. I was born in Romania. I was raised in Qatar, and now I live between Qatar and Oslo in Norway. I've been doing cartoons for the last maybe 20 years. I'm an independent artist and creative and cultural producer. I write. I make art in all of its forms. But it all started with political cartooning and comics.
That's very interesting. Now, obviously, as a Sudanese artist, you make a lot of art that is rooted in your issues that are faced in your home country. What do you think is the role of artists in shaping a narrative or telling a story on social injustices or any political problems that we might be facing?
Artists are historians, if you will, because we tell what's going on in our life. We express what's going on in our lifetime, right? And you could look at it like the pyramids, the hieroglyphics, all of these things, cave drawings, all of these things were art, but it actually told history. It told about the moment right now. And this is the role of the artist. The role of the artist is to express, view, ask questions about our current times. So it's very important, especially for a country like Sudan, and a lot of countries in post-colonial Africa and the rest of the world as well. Is that most of our history wasn't written by us. So it's very important for us to kind of look back at that and look back at ourselves and look back at our current situation and also relate it to our history. Find out what really happened, how it happened, who wrote this and that and stuff. So this is a very important role of the artist as well.
That's very impressive. Now, in terms of your artistic expression, you mostly want to obviously express injustices in a lot of regimes and institutions. What drives that inspiration?
I mean, I don't think I necessarily made art to I wanted to make art because I want to make art that talks about injustices. This is what I grew up with. This is the reality of the world that we lived in and the world that I lived in. So I'm expressing that reality really, and try to find solutions and trying to explore and ask questions about why are we in this state. So it's really, as I said, the art speaks for its time, the artist speaks for their time as well. And this is what I experienced. This is what I grew up with.
And how do you make sure that you make art that tells whatever relevant story that you believe or whatever message that you feel needs to be let out without also provoking people that might have a different perspective on what you're saying? How do you manage that?
I don't think provoking is the problem. I think knowing what you're talking about is the problem. I think if you know what you're talking about and if you know the history and study the history and the role of the artist again is to also push those red lines and think, make yourself think, ask the right questions as an artist, but also ask the other tough questions as well, to put up a mirror for society or for a person or whatever. So for me, I don't think provoking is the issue, because once you have the knowledge, you will know that it's not about provoking. It's about what you're talking about, right? But if you don't know what you're talking about, then provoking will be your game, right? So that's I think for me that's that's the difference. But provoking in a way that to push the red lines, to make people think, I think that's, that's the provoking that I think it should be pushed also, should be empowered. But the provoking for provoking, that's just lack of empathy and lack of talent, even, I think.
Now let's talk about the reason you're here, right? Which was the unveiling of your sculpture called the Parenthesis that took place at the Nirox Sculpture Park. Talk about the collaborations that went in with the community to make sure that the sculpture comes into place.
Yeah, I mean, the sculpture, like many of my artworks, comes from a sketch from a cartoon that I've done. And normally I don't get space. That's why I'm independent social media artist, right? I exist on social media. And sadly, social media is not the social media that we started with, or the internet that we started with, in the early 2000s. Because now it's more controlled. It's more like, how newspapers used to be at the time where the internet kind of opened these doors. So whenever I get a chance to get out of the internet, this is what I try to do. So whenever I get a chance to get out of the platforms into real places where people can come and visit and interact with the art, I do that. And the people at Nirox were very open to that. Even though a lot of people see me as a political cartoonist and want to put you in that box, but they were very open about experimenting and working together to bring this sculpture to life. So we worked with the team at the Nirox Park, which was, they're amazingly professional and helpful. Also in collaboration with Qatar Museums, who supported me a lot in this project. And also with the local foundry, working with local material to have the sculpture built and installed here in Africa, and especially in South Africa, where, of course, the story of resistance and resilience is still happening. Yeah.
I wanted to, before I actually ask you about the message that you're trying to convey with the sculpture itself, I want you to please tell us why. I know you said because of the resilience, and you just touched a little bit on that, but why did you decide to bring the sculpture here?
I didn't decide to bring the sculpture here. I was giving a chance to do an artist residency at the Nirox Park, and it's a sculpture park. So I asked if I could, do a sculpture, and I introduced my idea. They liked the idea, and this is how it came about. And I'm very happy. That is, I think it's the right place for it as well.
That's beautiful. And now talk to us about the message that you're trying to convey with the sculpture.
It's a very simple message. At the end of the day, I'm a political cartoonist, and political cartoons are about being easy, accessible, fast, fun, and playful. And this is what this sculpture is about. It's about giving you the experience to be on someone else's shoes, right? But this time it's the dictators, right? It's an empty shell, basically, of the ruins of a dictator's sculpture, right? The ones that we see in all these cities, and it always ends up being broken, right? By people, and sometimes by people that we consider heroes, and then they rise up, and then they take power, and then with the support of the people, but eventually morph into becoming the same dictator that we're fighting again. So my question is how and why? Why do we turn into the dictators again? It's us. It's the people that fought this dictator that turn into this dictator. So why does that happen? And it's just a chance to finish that ruined sculpture. You're the next dictator, right? It's not someone that came from elsewhere. It's us. It's us doing this to us. So making the steps up the podium and finishing the sculpture, you're the next dictator. And it's just a chance to think about how long did it take to get here, and what would I do with all this power if I had it? You as a person, right? Because without you completing the sculpture, it's just an empty shell, So it's really just an idea to think and to put yourself in the situation where you're above everybody. What would you do with this power?
I've got so many questions, and one is, are you saying that it is, I mean, becoming a dictator is inevitable?
I'm asking, is it?
I think it depends, right? I think it depends, and honestly, it's a thought-provoking sculpture because I mean, of the things that you just said, and it just got me thinking to say, is this inevitable? Is there something that the generation can do, or whoever's climbing up? Is there something that you can do, or are you trying to pass on a message of saying we should be more empathetic towards dictators because they were made by society, or it's inevitable, like you just become it, so we must be empathetic towards them?
It's all the above. It's all this. It's
It's
all these
all the
questions,
above.
right?
Okay.
It's and that's I don't. It's not my job to give answers, right?
Yeah.
It's just I'm just asking a question,
You just, yeah.
and it's about experiments. It's about having this conversation. What is it? What really is it? How do these heroes? How do these people that claim that they were here to save us turn to become this? Is it just the system?
Yeah.
Is it human nature? Is it what is it? You know, so it's really about having this conversation. But I think it's also about, you know, knowing that, you know, when you're at that, you know, up the podium and you're that sculpture, you know, you're that dictator with all this power, you realize maybe I could do more with the people down here without being here. That, you know, I understand more about everybody's problems and we talk more, and you know, and solidarity that will kind of, you know. So it's maybe it's about not what am I going to do when I'm here, but what should I do now? You know, so when I get here, I kind of break the circle if I get here, or, you know, support whoever gets here to be a better person, you know.
I think that's the purpose of art, to maybe make people think a little bit, and I'm glad that your sculpture is doing that. But I was not there at the unveiling. Tell us about the feedback, the reaction that you got. What was the feedback that you got from the people?
I think it was good. I think it was good. We had good weather. A lot of people came and shared the day with me. My family was here for the first time also in South Africa, so we were enjoying the views and we were enjoying, you know, talking to people and knowing about the history. You know, some of my best friends were there. It's just it was a really good moment, and a lot of people that were here for the sculpture or just were here in the park actually came and went and, you know, did the whole thing, going up the podium and becoming part of the sculpture. Some knowingly, some just, you know, kids playing around and going up and stuff like that. So it was nice just to see how people interact with it.
It is beautiful, because one thing that I've noticed with art, or being in art galleries, is that everybody interprets art differently. And probably from this conversation, if anyone has to go and see it, they would also have different questions and different feelings about the sculpture itself, which is the beauty of art. Now, tell us about the lifespan of the sculpture. Is it always going to be at the museum or at this center? What are the costs that are associated with seeing it?
I don't know the cost. The cost is just the normal cost to get into the sculpture park, to the Nirox Sculpture Park, which is very close to here, into central Joburg and stuff. And it's a permanent sculpture, so it's going to be there.
Okay.
It's part of the space, and it's part of the history, and it's part of you know, South African arts history, hopefully.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so
that's
much.
beautiful. Now let's talk about what's next for you creatively. What can we expect from you? Any future projects?
Yeah, many. Too much. Too many, actually. You know, as my friend told me earlier today, it was like, you're an ideas man. You know, I have a lot of ideas. Always want to do things. Does it finish? Does it like get to be something like we see today with the sculpture? Not rarely, but, you know, not most of the time. So I'm working on a lot of ideas, a lot of projects. Right now, I founded a magazine for Sudanese political cartoonists and comic book writers after the war, so they can tell our story with the cartoons, with daily cartoons about what's going on in Sudan. Short comic books telling the life of the people in Sudan, because most of the Sudanese cartoonists, just like most Sudanese people, are displaced right now, either in Sudan or outside Sudan. And most of the news outlets right now are either, you know, propaganda for this side or the other side, or just fake news, you know. So with this magazine, we really try to have the voices of the people told by the people who were there as well. You know, these political cartoonists are suffering from the same from the same things that most of Sudanese people are suffering from. Yeah, and it's just an outlet, and it's a timeline of what this war did to Sudan and what wars in general do to people. You know.
I mean, Khalid, this has been an amazing conversation. Jazakallah so much for joining us and just for, letting us know about yourself, but most importantly, the sculpture that you just made and what we can expect from you in general.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And please follow our magazine to know more about Sudan. There's there's not a lot of news about Sudan out there. So this is follow our magazine, khartoonmagazine.com. Follow our work, and hopefully we get to change things together, because that's what's important. It's about solidarity.
Thank you so much. Viewers at home, this was a very interesting and very good interview with Khalid Albaih, and we were speaking about the sculptural installation, which is the Parenthesis, that was happening in Krugersdorp. And I hope this interview left you inspired, but also makes you want to go and actually see the sculpture itself, so that you can also have some questions and I don't know, think of something that's changing in terms of, politically, what you can do to better, our economic state, our political state, the injustices that are happening in the world. And yeah, I think this has been a brilliant interview. Make sure that you do interact with us on all our social media platforms and let us know exactly what you felt about this interview. But without wasting any time, we're going to take a quick ad break. We'll see you right after this.